I'm a former United States attorney and a federal judge, and there's an old saying in the law, if the facts are against you, argue the law. If the law is against you, argue the facts. And if both the facts and the law are against you, call the other guy names. I think it says something about the I think it says something about really the complete lack of any positive message in this campaign, that almost the entire campaign has been devoted for 3 weeks to an effort to undermine Obama's character in the assertion that it's character that matters. I think that's less relevant than the fact that Senator McCain, as an adult, as a senator, was formally reprimanded by the Senate Ethics Committee for using poor judgment and intervening in behalf of Charles Keating. But I don't think that's an issue in this campaign, because it happened a long time ago. It was an error in judgment. We all make errors in judgment. The fact of the matter is the American people have heard all of this stuff, and they know that this is a tenuous basis on which to make a judgment. They've heard it all, and in that time, Obama's lead has increased.
No, that's simply not true. This race is tied up over the last week. Take a look at the real killer politics, for example, the average of all the polls. A week ago, it was almost 10 points. Today, it's 5 points. Yeah. Now, I grant you, this is not what we ought to be talking about at the end of the campaign, but with all due respect, Senator, when the leadership of the Democratic campaign, like Congressman Lewis, referred to John McCain and Sarah Palin as George Wallace, and when yesterday John Kerry, your nominee of your party in 2004, stands up and says, well, John McCain was asked the question of whether he wore boxer or briefs, his answer would be depends. I think that's pretty much under the table and pretty nasty.
Well, I have to say I feel like Dorothy in the Land of Oz hearing you lecture about negative campaigns by others.
Difference is people see mine as fair, and they worked.
Well, they should. Your South Carolina campaign against Senator McCain did work. I think we all acknowledge that. And so if you're proud of that it worked, then you're entitled.
You know, as long as we're on the subject, as long as you brought it up, what do you think I did in South Carolina, Senator? Are you just going to smear me here? You want to share with everybody what you were saying?
No, I think it's been well publicized.
No, you haven't. No, Senator, come on. I want to hear it from you. You can't hit and run, Senator, with all due respect.
And now,
are you going to argue me to the facts of law? You're just going to smear.
It's going to be. We've listened to you for 15 minutes, and I make one sentence, and you say that's a smear.
No, Senator. What exactly did I do in South Carolina? Would you like to share with people, or do you have a?
Is there anybody in this audience who's not familiar with the South Carolina campaign?
Just say it.
I think you're pretty sensitive.
Just say it.
I think I've touched a nerve, Karl.
You did.
I think I've touched a nerve, Karl.
Let me tell you what the senator. Let me offer up a couple of suggestions. Senator, are you talking about that nutty professor at Bob Jones University who talked about John in an email about John McCain had sired a black child out of wedlock? Was that what you're talking about?
Well, why don't you go ahead and explain it? You know all the facts.
Yeah, I do. I do. A nutty professor from Bob Jones University put that libel and that bigoted comment on the internet. And I'm to this day shocked that John McCain didn't do what he should have done with it, which is to say, you know what? Let me tell you the story. Let me tell you about the child we have. My wife went 18 years ago this year to Bangladesh to Mother Teresa's hospital. And Mother Teresa gave a child to her and said, this child is dying. We cannot provide her health care. Will you take her home and save her? And John McCain's wife, Cindy, took that child, wrapped her in a swaddling diaper, flew to Bangkok, bought a Dr. Pepper t-shirt because it was the only thing she could find in the airport, flew to Tokyo, flew home to Los Angeles, and was met at the bottom of the stairs by John McCain. And John McCain says, what do you have there? And she says, I have a child who is near death and needs lots of medical help and rehabilitation. And John McCain says, where's she going to stay? And Cindy McCain says, I hope she can be staying with us. And he says, that sounds like a great idea. If John McCain had done that and stood up and told the American people the truth about his child, he would have won that campaign. We had nothing to do with that nutty professor. That was beneath contempt to say those kind of things. And to suggest that I had anything to do with it, Senator, with all due respect,
Well,
is I don't appreciate it at all.
Well, I know you don't, and people don't appreciate being the subject of your accusations over many years. Let me just say that the next time I see John McCain, I'll tell him that he's been dead wrong these past 8 years in believing that that campaign was negative run against him, and that he should have talked about the baby in swaddling clothes, as you have suggested, and he would have won the election. And
you know what? You don't need to tell him that. You don't need to tell him that because you don't need to tell him that because I sat in the president's home in Crawford, Texas, in August of 2004, talking with John McCain about this very issue.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you trying to intervene for me, but no need, Senator.
Well,
no
thanks. Well, I'll just close with one thing. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about this campaign is that the Republican candidate for president has now adopted as his campaign theme that he's not George Bush. And I think that goes back to 2000, among other things, and perhaps he feels differently, but he certainly has given an impression contrary to that which you